So the 21-22 football season is upon us, and it's been an incredible transfer window thus far. Lionel Messi has joined Paris Saint-Germain, Romelu Lukaku has rejoined Chelsea, and a certain Jack Grealish has moved to Manchester City. Now over the years there's been many comparisons and the next players. Bojan Krkic was famously coined the next Messi, then bizarrely ended up at Stoke, and Michy Batshuayi was compared to Lukaku after moving from Marseille. Now after his £100 million move, who is the next Grealish? Well, listen up Premier League scouts, because after Bristol City's opening championship game of the season against Blackpool, I may have the answer for you. You're welcome. Hello everyone, I'm Lewis Holman, and today I'm joined by the great and powerful Jack Dosson. Jack is currently doing amazing things at J&P Sports, formerly of Bristol Live and also former Bristol City under-23s. On top of that, he's a nice enough man as well. So Jack, thank you for coming along.
You've done your research. Absolute pleasure, my friend. Pleasure.
So let's cut to the chase here. So we were at Bristol City versus Blackpool. You put me on the shoulder and you go, number 36, next Jack Grealish. Who is number 36? And you tell us a little about him.
So number 36 is Bristol City's Alex Scott. I think he's caught the eye. I think the Grealish comparisons are quite lazy because on the eye, you just think, okay, he's a 17-year-old attacking midfielder. He's got low socks. He's got the hairstyle. But when you watch him play, he draws a lot of similarities. It's even things like the way he wins free kicks, the way he dribbles through players, and even the way he falls over in a way to win those free kicks. He almost goes down the same way as Jack Grealish. I think he said that Grealish is his idol. So it's an easy comparison to make. But he's a very, very exciting player. Just about to turn 18, so still 17. And starting City's first championship game of the season shows just how highly he's rated at Bristol City.
Can you really trust? I mean, the Championship is famously one of the most competitive leagues in the world. Can you really trust it as 17, 18-year-old to kind of not spearhead your attack, but play a major role in it?
Well, when you're good enough, you're old enough in my eyes. We saw Jude Bellingham a few years ago, just how good he was for Birmingham, played 45 games, I think, out of the 46, and then demanded a 20 million, 30 million pound move to Germany. So I think age is just a number.
We've talked about the similarities between Scott and Grealish, but what's so, I know it's a small sample size, but what would you say the differences between the two players at the moment, apart from age? Jack Grealish being 25, Alex Scott being not even 18 yet, he's 17, but what would you say the differences between them?
I think Grealish, is more suited to playing out wide, whereas I think at the minute Scott is a pure number 10. I couldn't really see him playing out wide because he dictates things, whereas Grealish I think is a bit quicker than Scott. I think Scott just relies more on just being on the ball and making things happen. He doesn't really stretch teams. I think it's only been 4 games, it's tough to say, but I think a comparison I quite like is Matt Letizia. He's from Guernsey, the Channel Islands, and played in the academy at Southampton. To me, that kind of, and in the same position as Matt Letizia, the same kind of player, aesthetically pleasing, great technique. As I said, Channel Islands, Southampton Academy. I quite like that technique. He's got a few banging free kicks for England under 18s. Letizia himself was so good at free kicks, so that's one I quite like too. But now I think it's at his young age, it's tough to put labels on him. I think he said his idol's Jack Grealish as well, so I think you're naturally going to have those comparisons. But at the minute, I think it's not so much about next Grealish, it's about the next Alex Scott or the new Alex Scott. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what kind of play he can develop into to become a truly unique talent.
Do you think that Nigel Pearson, your manager at the moment, can get the best out of him?
I think so. He's got a good track record with flair players. He brought Riyad Mahrez to Leicester, of course. So I think he does have the reputation for bringing flair players. I think as long as you've got a solid, backbone behind him, which we do have to play a 4-2-3-1. So in that number 10 role, he does have 2 players behind him, which is crucial. Andy King, Matty James, 2 of the most experienced players in the Championship, just sitting behind him and letting him do his thing, which is win free kicks, play killer passes. So he's allowed that freedom, alongside a player like Casey Palmer, who he can interchange of easily. He's got that freedom in this side, which is why, it's so perfect for him, the setup.
If you're Alex Scott right now, you mentioned when we were there that a number of Premier League scouts were potentially looking at him. Do you go to a Premier League club and then potentially get loaned out again, or do you stay at Bristol City and build your appearances under Nigel Pearson and build your experience in the Championship?
I think Bristol City, if you look over the past few years, we're becoming very, very good. Well, our academy is so strong. One of the best in the Championship easily at the minute. We've seen likes of Bobby Reed and Joe Bryan, just two recent examples. You know, even likes of Antoine Semenyo coming through now, Zach Viner, Max O'Leary. There is a real core coming through there, and they're getting the chances. You know, we're not a team that will bring in players for the sake of it to put over young. I think there's been a few players you could say have been that lately that have come in. You know, Chris Brunt being one that has blocked a pathway. But all in all, Brian Tinnion, our player loans manager, and pretty much runs the academy, set up, scouts the players. He is doing a terrific job. He's a club legend.
What would you say would be a good season for him? I know he's a 17-year-old, small sample size, but what would you say would be a good season for Scott this year? And it's a huge opportunity for him with Bristol City this year.
It is a good opportunity, but I don't think there's too much pressure on him at the same time. I think it's quite a nice thing that, you know, we still got the likes of Casey Palmer to come in if he does need a rest. So it's not like the responsibility's all on his shoulders. But I think a good season for him is just minutes, because I think any starting point is a starting point, and this ultimately is the starting point. His breakthrough season, we expect it to be. So a player like him, I don't have a target. He wouldn't be saying to himself, "Oh, I want to score 5-10 goals." I think it's just about getting minutes, improving as a player, and learning, because that's what you do in the Championship. You'll constantly be learning. You know, we look at the teams relegated this season. The good players we'll be playing against as well, the experienced midfielders that he'll come up against. He's going to learn from them. He's going to learn from the players at City, and I think that's just the important thing. It's not about setting numerical targets. It's just about improving as a player, which I think he'll do this season. It'll be hugely beneficial to him and what he'll look back on.
If I know it's a crazy market right now, we're seeing some crazy fees for players, but if you had to whack a price on Scott right now, as in today, a club wants to sign him today, what would you value him at?
It's tough because he's only played 4 Championship games for us, and 1 game for England under 18s. So it's a very, very small sample, but it wouldn't be cheap. I think you'd be looking at certainly over, I think, 5 million, because that's how high the club rate him. So I don't think any offer would really be enough at the minute, because if you suddenly play a 46-game season well at 17, 18, your price times, well, it quadruples almost. So you're not looking at 5 million. In May, you could be looking at 20 million if he has those games under his belt. So why sell him now? I know there are scouts there in the Premier League. It's tough to say no to, but his value is only going to increase, because still, I think even a week ago, you didn't have no average football fan knows who Alex Scott is. You know, people are doing players to watch in the Championship. Alex Scott's nowhere in that conversation. So he's very much still a raw talent that is under the radar. No one really knows about him. So his value is only going to increase, and his stature increase as the season goes on. He continues to play in the number 10 role.
If you could describe Scott in one word, what would it be?
Mercurial.
Mercurial. Well, that's it from Mercurial Jack Dosson. Thank you so much for speaking to me today.
No problem. See you soon. Anytime.
Well, that's it for today's video, and thank you so much to Jack for speaking to me. And if you're interested in any of the content he does, you can check out his Twitter in my description. If you like that video, make sure to smash a like down below, and also consider subscribing to the Lewis Holman YouTube channel. You can check out my other videos where I found out about a little known sport known as spikeball, all the time where I investigate how Zinedine Zidane almost joined Newcastle. Interesting, watch that. Thank you so much for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.